Hello.
Okay, David, whenever you want to call the meeting to order.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. This is Dave Bendari, Chair for HRC High Point, and I would like to make a motion to start April 8th, 2021 official monthly meeting, HRC meeting at 5:32. I do appreciate everyone for managing time, being able to adjust your schedule and being over here. I'm super excited to be able to join and to be here. And I would like to start the meeting from here. I think if we are all set, I think we can move into the first, second agenda that we have. I hope everybody has agenda that they have received from email. I don't know if we have to do the attendance or roll call before we even move into that.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, you might want to start with the roll call.
And I would like to pass that roll call over to Mrs. Sanders since she is writing minutes. So I would like to pass over to her.
Okay, I'm actually going to be taking a roll call, a virtual roll call of the members who are present. If you are present, say aye. If not, then I'll discard you as record you as being absent. First person would be Deb Bendari.
Aye.
Betsy Clark.
Aye.
Billy Davis.
Aye.
Stacy Jones.
Aye.
Race McCray.
Aye.
Portland Price.
Aye.
Kim Barker.
Aye.
Shazia Iqbal. And Ms. Iqbal is absent, so we have a quorum established. We have 8 commissioners present and 1 absent.
I didn't hear her call my name.
I'm sorry, Ms. McGregor. I'm
No
sorry.
problem.
Are you here?
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry. 9, it's 8. I'm sorry. 8 are present and 1 is absent.
Well, that being done, thank you so much, Ms. Sanders. We would be moving to our next agenda for April 8th meeting today. That would be approval of HRC retreat minutes. I would like to request at this time for everyone to review the meeting minutes so we can go ahead and approve it as everybody gets a few minutes to read it.
And quickly, just to clarify, if I may, Mr. Chair, you'll be approving March meeting minutes. I don't know if there was a typo on the agenda, but you'll be approving the previous meetings minutes.
That's right. The approval of the meeting minutes from HRC retreat. Yes. That is what we have on agenda, but that's exactly right. We would be approving on the meeting minutes from the last month, that is March.
I'll make a motion to approve. If this is Race McCray for Tammy, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
This is Kim Barker. I'll second it.
Any objections?
Okay, we're going to take a virtual roll call with a vote for approving the minutes for the HRC regular scheduled meeting that was held on March the 11th, 2021. Mr. Bendari,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Ms. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. McGregor,
Aye.
Commissioner Price,
Aye.
Commissioner McCray,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark, and Commissioner Barker.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes. are approved by vote of, looks like 9-0. For the March 11th HRC minutes that were held, and the vote has been approved by a vote of, looks like 9-0.
Should maybe 8-0, Tammy?
Well, let's see what I have here. I see 1, 2, 3.
You should have Ms. Iqbal as Commissioner Iqbal as an absent.
She's absent.
Yes.
So I have Mr. Mindari, Mr. Davis, Ms. Jones, McGregor makes 4, Price. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 9 commissioners and 1 absent. Am I correct?
Yes, that's right.
So the vote was approved for the minutes by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Sanders. At this time, I would also like to thank all the commissioners and our councilmen for managing time, including all the staff. Just wanted to say thank you, everybody. The next meeting minutes that we have, agenda that we have for today is Fair Housing Committee. We did, discussed about Fair Housing Committee, how we are going to have our subcommittees, and also how we're going to be reaching out to the different teams within the city and outside the city. So I would like to, at this time, I would like to transition probably over to Mr. Rex McCray to kind of debrief what we have reviewed last time, and probably transition and for the open discussion to everybody.
Sure. So last time we discussed briefly about like what who would be part of the Fair Housing Committee, in particular that we'd reach out to representatives from the community development, legal department, and municipal partners, and that we'd start pulling this together. We also asked that if staff would be particularly interested in this, and we kind of got some volunteers. I believe that Commissioners Jones, Iqbal, Davis, Johnson, and Bandari all said that they were interested in this. And I believe that we've had some movement on who some folks are who are going to be involved in this committee from other divisions. I know that we've already got some responses from, I don't know the exact divisions who have already started about this, but I think that Mr. Biggs or Mr. Hollis could say exactly what it was, who has responded already. But I know that that was already kind of moving forward. And so I'm not entirely sure where the next step would be. I assume it would be to have a meeting and come together about this. Does that kind of sound like a fair, Mr. Chair, does that sound like a fair summary of what's happening right now?
That sound, yeah, that was yes, thank you so much. And I was going to transition to Mr. Biggs or Mr. Hollis for, what are the updates that we have, or if we have had any responses back from any parties or any teams. So I would like to probably, transition over to Mr. Hollis for any updates or what we have going on the fair housing thing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have some things to add, and then I'll pass it over to Mr. Biggs. We've actually reached out. We've got confirmation of participation from our community development department, and we've been in touch with the legal department, and they're looking at schedules. And what I've told them both is that once we get a schedule nailed down, we will share that. And I've asked that they have someone from their departments participate. So we've reached out to internally reached out to those departments, and we're really pleased that they're planning to participate and help us with this monumentous task. Jelani.
Sure, thanks, Ron. You pretty much covered it. The only other person I would add is I did reach out to Ed Terry, Vice President of the High Point Realtors Association. So Once we hear back, we'll know exactly his level of participation, or if he wants to send another representative. Another thing, Mr. Chair, if you want to cover is maybe what we want to cover in terms of content at the first Fair Housing Committee meeting. We can reserve that for a later meeting, or we can discuss that a bit in detail today. It may be helpful to give the group as a whole just a Fair Housing 101. What is a FAP agency, what its intended purpose is, and what that would look like. But that's just a suggestion.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hollis and Mr. Biggs. I know we covered about reaching out to different partners within the city regarding. So I would like to open the floor right now for any open discussion or open feedback. Like Mr. Biggs said, what are the topics we would like to probably cover in the first meeting, or when we would be doing that, and just come up with some realistic approaches that what we're going to be covering during that meeting, and what are the expectations we have based on like how we can have that educational session build up in a structured way. So I would like to open the floor to all the commissioners and everybody at this time.
Now, I did sign up to be on the committee, and Mr. Biggs mentioned possibly doing a Fair Housing 101 sort of an info on the first one. I think that would probably be a great place to start within the team that signed up to be on the committee, and then we can sort of structure some questions and a project plan, per se, from that. Anxious to get started, so I think just trying to figure out how soon we can go ahead and get this on the calendar so that we will stop, won't have a lot of lip service, but go ahead and get it rolling, get it going.
And I agree with Mrs. Jones. I think we should start off with information session on fair housing, and then what are the topics? I would like to ask all the commissioners or whoever is in the subcommittee to open up what are the topics that we would be covering, or what are the things we would like to learn about. So this is open discussion.
Mr. Chair, as far as the topics that we're discussing, and I also, if Councilmember Johnson, if he has anything he'd like to add, but I think just as a general framework, I think what we've talked about as far as starting with a 101 information, that will be our foundation. But I think our overall, just to get everybody on the same page, or refresher for some, we're going to be pulling together information from different groups, different agencies, different practitioners, different municipalities that are actually doing this fair housing work. And the goal is to get information and then come up with a recommendation that would end up going to the city council. So the order and the objectives, I would like to ask the commission to allow staff to frame that and then bring back with your feedback and even initial input. And I think that would probably be a little bit more efficient. But just as we brainstorm here and we discuss it, that's our overall objective, is to gather information so that we can make an informed recommendation to the commission, who will in turn make that recommendation to council. So just that's something to keep in mind as we move forward on how we're going to structure the meetings, which people will be invited, and those kinds of things. That's just a general framework to keep in mind. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hollis. And anybody would like to add on that?
And this is Councilman Johnson. I would like to add just a little bit to that as well. And definitely I was thinking the same thing that you were thinking, Jerron, in regards to getting the staff more involved with like the questions that we should be asking, things like that. And then of course bringing it back to the people that are on the committee to get that done, to look at, to review, but definitely the review for what a FAB agency will be great for all of us, and it'd be great to have. And to comment on Councilwoman Jones, I am 100% behind you. Yeah, I'm ready to get it going. I'm excited about what we could learn, the possibility for High Point with doing something like this. So, but I'm ready. Thank you.
Just a question. When you say staff, who are you referring to?
The staff at the High Point City staff.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry about that. Yeah, the staff that, of course, Mr. Biggs and Mr. Hollis and some of the other staff members, such as community development, that kind of staff of the High Point City.
So they would draft an outline of things that you want to do, and then it would come back to us to pick something in particular to work on with that? I'm just asking for clarification.
No, you're fine.
If I may, Councilman Johnson, if I may.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Commissioner McGregor, what we're talking about is that there's already sort of a template for the transition of a municipality into a fair housing agency. So we're merely suggesting that the staff bring that framework of suggested steps, order, making sure that we're checking off the appropriate boxes based on the kinds of things that HUD is going to require, the kinds of things that would be necessary for our community. So what we would envision is maybe at the next meeting or shortly thereafter, sharing that outline with the commission, saying this is what we plan to do. And then that would kind of spring us into work with the volunteers from the commission. We go through that work, and then to just repeat what we had said before, we take that information with the recommendations, we'll come back to the commission and would eventually go to council. So the staff work sort of in the background, because this isn't something, like we said in the last meeting, that we'd be able to do just at the commission meetings monthly. This is going to be day-to-day work for staff. So it just allows us to kind of do what we're supposed to be doing in the background and letting the commission, giving them some general framework and an outline of what we plan to cover, a timeline, how we plan to do it. And then if there's feedback or questions or things that the commission wants to suggest that we tweak or add, that will be the time once we have something for you to look at and view. Does that help at all?
Yes, that's exactly what I was asking. Yes.
Right.
So Tammy, this is Race McCray. So Mr. Hollis, just to clarify, I have a few questions, or Mr. Biggs, either of you could jump in. The first question is part of our work to evaluate whether or not this is a good decision for us? Like, are we making a recommendation to council that yes or no, we should become a FAP agency, or is this already, we know we want to, and therefore we're just working on steps?
Well, Commissioner McCray, what I would say is that I think that from the feedback we've heard from some on the commission, some in our community, I think there's definitely, looking at what other communities have done, there's definitely an interest in moving something like this forward in High Point in general. I think to answer your question, I think after we have talked to some of the agencies, after we pulled information, I don't think it is necessarily a done deal that this will be done. I think that because the final decision of whether we move forward as a FAP agency is a city council decision. So what we'd be doing is presenting a recommendation as the
Yeah.
Human Relations Commission, presenting a recommendation to the city council with some outlined findings, with some recommendations from subject matter experts and the like. So just as a general framework, we'd say that a recommendation will come based on the information that's covered in these work group sessions that will come to the commission, which will in turn be presented to council as a recommendation. I can imagine along the way there are going to be questions. There are even going to be questions once we make the presentation to council. And we want to make sure we've got the information in front of us to be able to answer those questions or be able to quickly find those answers if we, for some reason, don't have them.
Great, thank you. I think that actually really helps us focus for what this committee could do. That's why I wanted to get that clarified. So it seems like the purpose of this committee is to essentially create a recommendation, which we already as commissioners, based on our presentations that we've gotten from Mr. Biggs and the research we've done so far, believe will be a recommendation that we should become a FAP agency, and that therefore it will also include the steps that other municipalities have done. So kind of we're an awareness of what a timeline and a step process would look like, what kind of benchmarks we need to meet, what kind of, but also what kind of changes we would need to make. Like I imagine there might be certain, we might analyze the city and say, hey, there's no X department, or I'm just doing a theoretical here, and say that if we were to do this, it would require the council to then make this change or something like that. And that we would essentially prepare a report would be the end goal of this, would be we are making a recommendation one way or the other. Here are our reasons supporting that. Here are the what a timeline for such a change would look like. And here are potential changes that would need to be made. Does that sound like kind of the ultimate structure of what we're trying to accomplish here?
Yes, Commissioner Craig. Yes, exactly.
And just to add on that, are we? Just to be clear, so staff would be working on gathering information from the different agencies, like Mr. Hollis said, and then that would be discussed and shared on HRC meetings, and then along with that one, that we would be, staff would be working with the subcommittees that we already have listed, right? That is what we're going to be doing, and I think with that, stop doing research and then working closely with the subcommittee. I think we are just doing, working on what we are going to be recommending councils. I think we are just doing, are we on this preliminary phase of like doing research, what needs to be recommended based on the research, or what would be the outcome of the working with the staff and the subcommittee? What would be the ultimate goal of the committee, and then they start working together, gathering all the researches and everything. So that I would like to transition that to either Mr. Biggs or Mr. Hollis. So what we're looking, or just the information session that we are going to have, or what would be what we are looking to kind of accomplish off of working closely with the subcommittee within the HRC, and also, staff members.
Sure, Dave. I'm sorry. I don't know if that was directed towards a certain person, but just to kind of piggyback off of what Commissioner McCray said, this would be a series of meetings, gatherings, committee meetings in which we would be inviting subject matter experts, representatives from partnering agencies, information from myself and others to make a recommendation at the end of this. Of course, all the information shared or presented within the committee meetings would be reported back to the larger commission for final recommendation to council.
This is Vice Chair Davis. My question is, anyone have any idea when we can get started on meeting? When would be a good time for us to get started on trying to meet together as a group for this?
I think I can answer that, Commissioner Davis. I remember from our last meeting, the answer was as soon as possible. The question was, the answer was basically as soon as we could get the other departments on board, because we had to reach out to these other departments, so legal, community development, things like that. And I think the expectation, since we've already heard preliminary responses that Mr. Hollis reported on and that Mr. Biggs reported on, that the expectation would probably be that this committee could possibly meet as early as before our next meeting as a commission. So, it depends a little bit on when people are getting back to us, but if we have, as soon as the committee has been lined up and everyone has agreed who's going to sit on it, et cetera, that we would be scheduling a committee meeting as soon as possible. And that would probably be the first committee meeting, I would assume, would be Mr. Biggs presenting a Fair Housing 101 to kind of lay the ground for, this is what we need to know. These are the questions that we'll probably be asking. That would be my assumption. And Mr. Biggs could welcome to correct me if
That'd be good. That's good. That's good.
No, I think that's a great suggestion.
I would also add, if I may, Mr. Chair, the volunteers or the specific commissioners that have kind of stepped forward to help spearhead this would be your mainstays. They would be at each of the committee meetings, the work group meetings, what have you. I think beyond that, as we bring in other partners, whether they're internal from other agencies, maybe our partners with community development and legal would be in each of these meetings. But it's for those that may be watching or viewing, this is relevant content. So people would come in some cases with the purpose of sharing information or insight that we wouldn't otherwise have. So I would see these work sessions or these work groups being sort of dynamic with different people at different ones. These would also be public meetings, sort of like this, because we're actually doing official work as designated by council through the Human Relations Commission. So even if people weren't able to participate directly, they would still have the opportunity in these work sessions to have a discussion, to hear the discussion that's going on. So just to give you a little idea of what we kind of envision those work groups looking like.
That was, I was thinking about it, what would be, what we exactly, that I think that was the confusion that we had at one point, that what exactly the volunteer would be, or what we would be working on. I think it is very clear that we would be working on writing recommendations, reaching out to different agencies, getting expertise on the board, and doing live streaming like Mr. Hollis just said. So thank you so much for that clarification. If we do not have any addition to that, I would like to transition or move to another agenda that we have for tonight. All righty. Next agenda that we have today is homework hangout. We talked about this one. And then I do know that we do have some updates on this one. So I would like to transition this over to Mr. Biggs, just to give us update and what is going on, what updates we have, and what progress we have on this exact agenda. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only brief update I have is that I did have a conversation with Assistant Chief Atula Sellers regarding the police department's involvement. She was very supportive. They're already doing a good bit of community outreach. One item that she just wanted us to keep on our radar, I told her that, due to the nature of the program, that this is likely to be in-person mentoring, tutoring, that, we wouldn't be getting started to the latter part of this year at the earliest. And she only asked that the police department be brought into the planning phase of it. She's very cautious about capacity, available officers at any given time. So she just said, I asked that, whenever you guys get into the planning phase, bring me in, bring the police department in so we can help kind of account for that. How frequent will the sessions be? And that'll help with officer availability. That's all, Mr. Chair.
And I would like to open the floor for any updates or any discussions that we have on that topic.
So I'm assuming, this is Commissioner Jones, that the staff has also taken the lead in this particular project also, because I don't think we did a subcommittee for this, correct?
And that's for the commission to decide. The only thing I would say, Commissioner Jones, is I do think at the last meeting, we were going to kind of, as a group, look at potential sites. So that's the only other update I think we would have on the moment. Of course, COVID is delaying this implementation a bit, but I think site selection was going to be the other item that the commission was going to be looking at.
Gotcha.
But Commissioner Jones, this would also be staff led, the day-to-day, sort of like what we were saying with the other initiative. So that's kind of just for the, especially Commissioner McGregor, a lot of what you see at these commission meetings is going to be a presentation in some regard of the work that the staff's been doing behind the scenes between meetings. So there are going to be particular projects and assignments and even ideas that the commissioners come up with individually. Usually you'll discuss that as a group, assign those so that someone will know to come back with information from this particular item or that. But a lot of what you see here is going to be, staff rolling up their sleeves and doing a lot of work as assigned by the agenda or objective that we're working on for that particular upcoming meeting or that overall objective. So yes, staff will be trying to craft this and come up with information that will be beneficial to the moving forward with the project.
And this is the chair HRC. What I would like to add on that one is I think we can, I mean, because of the COVID, everything is kind of restricted right now. But also what we can do is I think we can reach out to the different sites, but do not promise that we're going to be doing, homework session or everything over there. But just let them know this is what we have in our mind. And just speak to them, see what they say, and then we can reach out, before, prior to the meetings or during, like throughout the month, we can reach out back and forth via email if anybody is interested to host or if they are willing to participate. Any sites that we have. We talked about not having too many sites in one area or something like that, but I think we can keep it open to reaching out to the different sites and see how we can work with them, and then communicate through email or prior to the meetings or things like that. So just wanted to add that. Thank you.
This is Commissioner McCray. So as we're planning this, it seems like maybe an important part would be maybe to create a proposed timeline for when we can possibly have a site kind of suggestions made. I like the idea of doing it by email and talking about it at the commission meeting, but I think that last month we had discussed coming with ideas of site selection, and I think that I don't know that we had a deadline for today of making sure that happened, and that was probably my fault as acting chair of maybe not assigning that. as our deadline. But I think that could be maybe something important. If we're wanting to move this forward so that we're ready in the fall, it does seem like we should at least have a good foundation for when that site selection should at least come with ideas where we can discuss. And I don't know if that's best to have at the next meeting or not. Mr. Chair, you could perhaps give an idea, but I do think that we should as a group decide on kind of what the steps look like so that we don't feel like we're getting behind. And when the fall comes around, we feel like we're ready.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. McCray. I don't think it was or it is your fault. But just because of the restrictions that we talked about and our kind of structured way of the homework was more towards face-to-face in-person coaching. That is why we didn't have probably tentative time frame. So, but we can talk about what we could do probably before next meeting, or what we can bring up, like what researches we need to do, or like how we can reach out to the different on-sites during this month of April. And when we come back in May, that we can at least discuss about, okay, this is what we have reached to, or these are the ideas that we have. I think we should do that. That would kind of like get going, being like a little bit proactive on this topic. So I would like to put this out there for open ideas, that what we should be doing, or just maybe reaching out to the sites, or different partners, how we can move forward on this one. So I'd like to put this out there for any ideas or any feedbacks.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner McGregor. When you all say sites, are you talking city sites like recreation centers? What are y'all referring to when you say sites?
And correct me if I'm wrong. I do not think we are referring to city sites or recreational center, or but we are just referring to where we can actually do the homework tutoring, where we can have that place. We are just talking about some locations. It could be anywhere. So correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Biggs.
This is Kim Barker, and I could be remembering this incorrectly, but I thought we were going to identify those of us who knew where there were sites doing something similar. We were going to have those identified and start mapping it out so that when we look to select a site, it would be in a place far away from maybe something that's already in existence, so that we could maximize, the opportunity and not duplicate.
This is Rach McCray. Kim, I believe that you're correct. So I think that maybe that is maybe the piece that needs a deadline, where we can say, this is the task for X date, that we're going to be doing some research and bringing that information in.
This is Dave. I agree with you, with Ms. Barker and Mr. McCray. I think we should have some sort of deadline. Like I said, if we have any findings also, or if we have any updates, we can email, hey, I reached out to this one, this is their feedback, or we do have this location, anything. Or we can, come when we hear on the next meeting. No pressure, no stress or anything, but it's still, just reaching out to the different sites that is existing or new. So I think probably we can make deadline that we talk about or discuss about where we have reached out, or what are the findings in next meeting, maybe.
This is Kim again. Jelani or Jaron, does the city have any information about those sites already that we could just use as a starting point? Or you may not have them because it may be, at the Y or wherever. I just didn't know if you already had something that we could use as a starting point of these sites that provide this type of service.
I'll defer to Jelani, but I'm not aware of a specific list we have of sites that provide this. However, I know we have a resource with Michelle McNair in community development. So I would recommend that we at least talk to her. She's very familiar with some of the community neighborhood resources. That would be someone that I would talk to regarding these locations. And it may not be, Commissioner Barker, it may not exactly be the information that you're looking for, but I think it will give us
It's a start.
Mhm. Mhm.
The only thing I would add to that is, depending on how the commission wants to select the sites and what sites we decide that we think would be best to have this program, the city does have recreation centers. Logistically, I'm not sure if that's the best site for the commission to consider, but it is something they can definitely look at. One of the issues I think was brought up at the previous meeting was, do we want to be meeting these children where is best and where they are, so that transportation isn't an issue, but along with the whole site selection process, I think that's just something to consider.
Hey, it might line up, so it's worth looking at.
And Mr. Chair, did we say that was the directive that the suggestions and information be discussed at the next scheduled commission meeting?
Yes, yeah, I believe so.
So just to clarify, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Hollis, I think that we're saying that let's try for the next meeting to have an established, pieces of information about where these things are. We'll reach out to Ms. McNair and also our own networks and say who is doing any kind of community help or even after schools that may conflict with this, things like that, so that we can really say, here's a map. And that might be, able to pull that together. And that hopefully, I think that I liked, Mr. Chair, your idea of maybe doing this through some emails. So maybe we could get an email chain going where we're starting to share some information among each other, and then we can discuss them more fully at the next commission meeting when it's public. But that already we can at least kind of be encouraging each other's research by letting each other know when we've got kind of, some new information. That might be a good way to kind of approach that. And then at the next meeting, we therefore would be able to have a little better sense of site selection, what that might look like. I wanted to clarify that that's what you meant, right, Mr. Chair?
Yes. No, thank you so much. And email chain is just an idea. We can definitely do our, research and everything, and we can definitely go ahead and come, discuss during the meeting. And I believe that is why we have face-to-face meeting, and that is why we have virtual meetings, so we can have, open conversation. So thank you so much, Mr. McCray, for clarifying that. Anybody would like to anything on that topic, homework hangout?
This is Kim Barker, who was already on that committee. I think some people had signed up, because then we could start that chain and make sure that email gets moving.
Email chain has not been created.
No, but we could start it.
Yes, most definitely. And then whoever has, any findings on that topic, you can probably copy everybody on that one, and we just reply to all on that one. That would create the chain, I believe.
Yeah, Commissioner Barker, we didn't establish in the last commission meeting.
Okay.
We did not establish a committee, and we did not ask for any particular commissioner's interest in this. So if we wanted to do that now, we could, but the basic would be that right now we're all committed to it, unless someone is willing, wants to very quickly run away. We're all ready to help out on this one, I believe.
Yeah, we did not have a strict assigned committee on this one. But I would be more than happy to start the chain, probably tomorrow, just to get going, and email chain started, and I'll put some information so that we can just carry on from there.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just wanted to reiterate something that was included in the minutes. The last
Sure.
meeting, you did discuss a volunteer group of commissioners in which you voted on. So it was a very small group, and it shows that the interest level for volunteering for the work groups. Is that what you're saying? For the work group for the fair, looking at the wrong thing, and I do apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Looking at the fair housing. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yes, I believe, no, that's just fine. I believe we had voted, and then we had, quite a few volunteers working on fair housing, but talking about homework hangout, we did not have a strict, committee or volunteer setup. So that is just fine. Do we have any addition to that agenda, or we can transition into another one? Well, thank you so much, and for all the ads and insights and ideas and clarification. That being said, I would like to transition into our fifth agenda that we have, additional items and considerations. Probably I would like to transition or request Mr. Hollis on this one, just to open up, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we appreciate, wait a minute, I'm getting some additional noise. We've got a couple of announcements that we want to make. First, we have been spending a lot of time in the last several weeks finalizing our human relations manager position. We have finished that process, and graciously, actually, Mr. Race McCray has accepted the role of human relations manager, and he is set to start on the 26th of April, I believe. Yeah.
Excellent.
So we'd like to just give him a hand and congratulate him on that new job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, Mr. McCray. I just wanted to, I'm very thrilled, to have this strong team. I mean, you joining this staff, I think, you already add so much value to, being within HRC or, outside, inside HRC. So I think that it would be wonderful to be, working with very strong commission, and also really strong staff that we have been, have for at City of High Point. So congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, everybody. I really look forward to working with you all in this new capacity. I think it'll be really cool.
When do you start? What's the first day?
April 26th. So I will be in the position before our next meeting.
Okay.
That's awesome.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, one other announcement. Now this one's not quite as happy about this one, but it's the cost of progress and people seeing your good work and they notice you. So we'd also like to congratulate Tammy Sanders. Tammy has served in a very, very strong capacity, helping us in a number of ways in the department and being very valuable at these commission meetings. Tammy has agreed to accept a role in the planning department as a permit specialist. So we're happy for her. We want to congratulate her on her new position. And I'll give Tammy a second if she had anything she wants to add. But so with one position filled, another one opens. So we found out about that recently. So you'll be seeing Tammy's job posted here in the near future. But just wanted to give those staff updates so that the commission could be aware. I don't know if Tammy had any words, or she might need Kleenex. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, not Kleenex, but I want to thank you all for just having an opportunity to actually be a part of this. This has been very, very interesting as how things matriculate within the city and how things are actually implemented and get started. I'm going to miss not working with Mr. McCray. I think he's a good candidate for the position. However, duty calls elsewhere. Okay, so I do appreciate you guys for everything that you've done and anything that you could have allowed me to do up until this present moment. I work with a good group of guys. Mr. Hollis and Mr. Biggs have been my backbone. So everything works well for everything that's going on with me. But I greatly appreciate the opportunity of working with the department.
I mean, congratulations, but we're definitely gonna miss your support, being, leading the meeting sometime. I mean, being there to kind of lead the meeting, but definitely congratulations, and we're definitely going to miss you.
And one final thing, Mr. Chair, I want to publicly thank Mr. Jelani Biggs, our DEI officer. He's worked tirelessly, wearing 2 hats. He's been doing the work in his new role, as well as providing valuable support, which he will continue to do. Valuable support for our just kidding there, Jelani, for our human relations efforts from a staff side. So we would not have been able to be as far along as we are with any of this in this chapter of what we're doing with human relations without Jelani's leadership. We're glad that he's still going to be on the team and he's still here, and he's offered to lend his expertise to our future efforts. So we want to just thank you publicly for all the work that you've done as he's transitioned, as we're transitioning, as there have been position transitions. I mean, you can't teach that. You either have it or you don't. And so I just want to publicly thank him for those efforts. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hollis. So I think that is about it for additional items and considerations. Next would be if anybody has anything to add on it. I think we are close to concluding the meeting for today, April 8th, 2021. I would like to make a motion and pause if someone has anything to add. I saw Mrs. Barker.
Oh, I was just going to say it's too bad we can't just, have a celebratory toast with
That's
new
right.
positions, saying thank you to everyone who's helped so much. It just doesn't work virtually. So that's all I was going to say.
Okay, thank you. And hopefully soon we would be able to do that too.
Well, and really quickly, Mr. Chair, I want to thank Ryan Ferguson and our teammates in our marketing division for helping us put these meetings on every month. So thank you, Ryan, wherever you are.
Thank you so much. I would like to make a motion at this time to adjourn the meeting for April 8th, 2021, HRC City of High Point meeting.
I second the motion.
Okay, we're going to do a virtual roll call for the adjournment of the meeting for today. If you would respond, please, by approval. Okay, I have Commissioner McCray.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Bendari.
Aye.
Commissioner Barker.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
I think she's on there.
Commissioner McGregor.
Aye.
Commissioner Price.
Aye.
Okay, their meeting for today, the HRC meeting, regular meeting for April the 8th, 2021 has been approved to adjourn at 6:26 p.m. by a vote of 8-0.